A badge of honor. Police officers and first responders wear badges to let their communities know they are here to protect and serve. But that's not how it feels today, and the stress of the job is taking its toll, taking lives through suicide and post-traumatic stress injury. A Badge of Honor podcast features the cast of the same name, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno. Sam, John, and the team offer the first responders workshops through their critical incident stress management teams and mental health liaisons to offer state-certified T-Cole credit programs that save lives. It's time to smash through the stigma. It's time to heal from your injury, and it's time to back our blue. Welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast. Here are your hosts, Sam Horwitz and John Salerno.
Hey, welcome to A Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam. We are powered by the OBBM network, and you can find us on any streaming platform across the globe, along with Roku TV. Man, if you sit back on your couch and enjoy your favorite beverage while you watch me, Sam, and our very special guest each Monday from 5 to 6 Central Time. Hey, how you doing, Sam?
Doing great. Welcome back, partner. We missed you last week, but you were on an amazing cruise with a big cause. Why don't you just tell everybody what you were doing?
Yeah, the High Seas Rally, man. It is a cruise for a cause. It benefits the Wounded Warrior Project along with the Dialysis Foundation. And it's a cruise that is open to everybody, but it's no kids. It's a privately run cruise done by Entertainment Cruise Productions, and it's all like-minded individuals. There was probably about 2,300 people on board, and all of them were either veterans, first responders, family of, or part of the Dialysis Foundation. And what they do is they bring 10 dialysis patients on board with their doctors, the machine, so they can get their dialysis treatment for 7 days, and they give them a trip of a lifetime. And throughout the whole cruise, they raise money and have auctions and games and stuff like this throughout the whole cruise to benefit these two amazing organizations. This year was really special to me as Moto Mark, and I can't pronounce his last name. It's Mark Cicero. I can't pronounce his last name, but if you type in Moto Mark, you'll see it. He's a worldwide painter. Does beautiful art for the motorcycle community, first responders, and veterans. And this year he did a painting called Sea Warriors for our veterans. And in the photo, there's in the painting, I'm
going to bring it up.
Oh,
I'm going to bring it up so
Okay.
people can see what you're talking about. So let's. It might look a little odd.
There you
but,
go. No, that's all right. That's all right.
All right.
In that painting, right under the flag, is the USS New York, and that ship was built with metal from the 9/11 from the Twin Towers, and he wanted to bring a little bit of New York into the painting. So a couple of months ago, he contacted me and said, "Hey, listen, any way you can get any dust or metals or sand or anything?" So I gave him a piece of my bunker gear that still had the dust and metals and everything from 9/11. And he grinded some of my bottom of my bunker gear up, and he put it into the paint. And then he outlined the framework with pieces of my bunker gear to bring in 9/11. It's a true expression of why we should never, ever forget our military or our first responders. And this piece auctioned off on the ship for about $15,000. And all the money went to the Wounded Warrior Project and the Dialysis Foundation to help out those organizations. And it is just a true remembrance of who our heroes and what they do each and every day, and our first responders and our military veterans. And it's a powerful, powerful painting. And the person who won it will hang it proudly in either his business or in his home. And he'll remember each and every day, never to forget those who have fallen or fought for us or continue to fight for us and our safety through our cities, states, and our country.
Yeah, what a meaningful piece, and it's an original. It's not like he made a bunch of them. That's it.
He made some prints. He makes that's the original, but he makes prints, so you can get that print
Right.
It's not
It
$15,000.
right. It doesn't have the bunker gear and all your, right.
Correct.
Right. Wow. That is
But it's
awesome.
so
And all
powerful.
for a great cause. And I mean, it just so happens you were talking about your bunker gear. John was a firefighter, for those of you who maybe this is your first time watching the podcast, and on 9/11 was rappelling down into the rubble to try and save folks that were trapped. And it just so happens tonight that we have a special guest. He is a retired firefighter. And, when I look at that painting, you can't help but, first of all, get a little emotional, but also, I don't know, there's a faith component to it.
Yes.
And when I first was reading about Jason, and how he really transformed himself through the pain and suffering, we're obviously gonna let him tell his story. But there was a pivotal moment in his career, and he knew he had to make a change. So without further ado, Jason Sautel, welcome to a Badge of Honor podcast.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on. It's such an honor to be here with you too.
The honors are same here. You're an author, you're a speaker, you have 3 books out. I will say that it's gripping, your website, to read about the incident that kind of made you stop. You're looking darkness in the face and you knew you had to make a change. Before we get to that point, just tell everybody watching and listening on their favorite podcast app, your background.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'll give a basic bio. What I always tell people is, like everyone else, I went to elementary school, then I went to high school, and then my sophomore year, I was actually thrown out of high school and sent to a school for dropouts, and that school also threw me out. So you can kind of understand my teen years. Yeah, I was that guy. I was that California skater guy. When you watch those old documentaries of jumping into backyards and skating those empty pools and doing thousands of dollars of damage, I'm him, you guys. That was me growing up.
That was you.
That was me. But it was because I grew up in a rough environment. My parents separated when I was young, and I know lots of kids grown up in that type of an environment, but mine was just really tough because my dad was raised by a very cold man, and my dad was very cold, and then going off to Vietnam and the demons that affected him, and then after my mom left, me staying back and him being a single dad trying his best to raise me, it was tough as a kid. And so at age 18 I became a firefighter. Shortly after that, I went to paramedic school and EMT school, and then I joined the Oakland Fire Department. So my career started in 1992 with the Riverside County Fire Department, and I stayed all the way through until 2019. After I was injured, I had to leave the fire department. So I had a kind of a cool, robust career from 1992 to 2019. And now, like you mentioned, I write books, I speak, and I talk about all things, fire department and EMS and first responder related to dealing with traumatic experiences and how to overcome them and how I overcame them.
Yeah, Jason,
Nice.
like I said on the intro, there's a piece about your story on your website that talks about you responded to somebody on a bridge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that was a turning point for you.
Yeah, it was, it was a turning point for the worse that actually got better over time, meaning that when I speak, obviously, I'm looking through a faith-based lens, but the darkness is the darkness, whether you're a Christian, a non-Christian, or whatever your faith is, the darkness and the pain that we can all go through, it's all the same, in my opinion. And I'd lived in that for a long time, and I was really hoping that becoming a firefighter would make me better, right? And think about this. I have all this childhood trauma, and then I joined a career, and especially working in West Oakland, which out here on the West Coast is a very busy, I know you're not supposed to use the terms ghetto or anything, but it was a ghetto fire department. Worked in West Oakland, blessed to serve amazing citizens. My firehouse was just a few doors down from where the Black Panther Party started. We had our share of all the drug issues, the amount of shootings that we just went to from drug related stuff, you guys understand. And So I thought that becoming a firefighter would make me better, helping people would make me better. But as we know, every scene we go to, even on our worst days, we leave the best part of us there. Even if the best part is being kind to someone or doing CPR or getting them to the hospital, yanking, grabbing them out of a fire, that's the best part of us. But the worst part of that scene, no matter how big or small it is, seems to attach itself to us. And I wasn't prepared for that. And so when I talk about PTSD, PTSI or anything, I actually shy away from those terms because, a lot of people say, Jason, it's not a disability or it's an injury. And what I try to say is, you guys, trauma causes pain and pain sucks. If we get caught up on what to name it, I truly believe that we're causing an issue there. Let's just deal with the problem. And so as I was absorbing all of that trauma and that pain, we went to a response because our engine and truck were first due to the Bay Bridge. And just to be clear, the Bay Bridge is not the Golden Gate Bridge, the big pretty one. It's the ghetto bridge between San Francisco and Oakland. It's the bridge you're told, as a tourist, it's the bridge you're told not to go over because you're going to land in Oakland. Okay, so that's the bridge you're on. And there was a jumper on that bridge. And I'm not going to downplay any suicide attempt or anything like that. But 99.9% of the time, we either got there after the fact, so there was nothing we could do, or if we got there beforehand, a cool voice, kind voice, being truthful and honest would bring them back over the rail. I'm going to be honest with you. We would always use the role of, hey, and I love, just so we're clear, love police, love my police officers, work hand in hand. But there's something cool about being a firefighter, being able to use the term, bro, I'm not a cop. I'm not going to cuff you. Just come back over and let's get you the help we need. And then once we get over the rail, turn the cops into human beings because then they get to actually see they're not authoritarians. They're cool guys and gals that were there to help them. So I always took that role. And I took that role on this gentleman. And I was talking to him and I thought any minute we're coming back over the rail. But then his head snapped up. And he looked at me and he said, I'm sorry. And he stepped back and he took the internal plunge, and I just watched him drop to his death there.
Oh my God.
And I don't want to take anything from this man's death, first off. And when I talk evil, I want to be very clear that I'm not saying this man was evil, like a killer or a child molester or something like that. But there was an evilness that overtook him, is what I say. And when I looked in his eyes, I could just see that emptiness that I saw in my eyes. But it was the moment that I recognized that guy who just jumped, I saw myself taking that same eternal plunge. And it was almost like the darkness and evilness that I've been dealing with ever since I was in kindergarten, my parents separating at the firehouse. It became real, and it climbed on the engine with me, and it rode back to the firehouse. It waited for me while I took a shower. It rode home with me. And instead of being alone and in pain, it was almost like it now said, all right, I'm your best friend, and I'm going to be taking you down too. And that was the moment that I realized that what I tell people, and I don't use it as a ploy to sell a book, that, when a house is on fire, we can figure it out, or a building on fire, you can come up tactically in how to fight it. But when a soul is on fire, or when your life is on fire, how do you attack that? And that was the problem I was confronted with on the Bay Bridge, and it became real at that moment. And it was a struggle for the few months following.
Wow, that is a really powerful story. We've got to take our first break. When we come back, let's definitely expand on that. We'll be right back, everybody.
It was a quote that has inspired me to start my business, to do something different, to be a radical, I guess, in the wireless industry. We started with trying to help customers with their cell phones first, find ways to reduce costs, try to make it easy for customers to get customer service, to solve customers' problems. And with that, all we ask is that they would just order through us to do an upgrade or new activation just as they would in a retail store. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you want to go with a guy that's actually going to help you save money instead of going to a place that all you are to them is a ticket to their next commission? We're here to help. Dave with Outer Bridge Industries, we are your bridge over troubled wireless.
Hey, welcome back to a Badge of Honor podcast with John and Sam and our retired Oakland firefighter, Jason Sautel.
No, you need new glasses, dude.
Yeah.
I know.
Bro, I've been called so many names in my life. I'll take anything.
The firefighter, dude.
I'm so bad with last names. I'm so bad with first names. James.
Jason, not James.
Jason. Oh, Jason. I'm so Jesus. Yeah, I better clean it.
I don't have my glasses on. Don't worry, Jim. It's okay.
Sorry, Jason. I apologize.
John, you're Jim now. Yeah.
That's right, Jim. We're all good. Don't worry about it. So
Yeah, and that's a total coincidence with the commercial we just ran. Since we were just talking about a bridge, thank you, Outer Bridge Industries, for that. But yeah, that was a total coincidence.
Well, and after telling the story that I was, it's good to come back in with a little bit of humor. We need that humor rig too,
Yeah, because we left with Soul on Fire. So yeah, the humor part is good. But John, you started to ask a question before we took a break.
Before we left, you really hit on something that's pretty powerful that a lot of advocates for mental health and a lot of our first responders and our military don't even think about, with post-traumatic stress, PTSI and PTSD. Why label something? And I liked how you put that. And it's like, let's just treat the issue, because when me and Sam bring this up in our workshops, every issue is different. Everybody fights a different demon, and everybody battles different. We can't just put everything into the same bucket, because everybody is a little different, right? So I really love the way you place that and put that. And it really brings a new perspective to mental health. And I like the way it's worded, John,
you
were in Oakland.
Well, what I just want to add on
you were in Oakland in a bad time.
Yeah, I love the way that people deal with it. But what I was going at kind of there, because, stop the stigma. I believe in that. But what my issue lies sometimes is when all we stick is on the mantra, stop the stigma, stop the stigma. Then it becomes, in my opinion, we're not doing anything with it. It's a mantra. Mantras don't do anything. But if we say, hey, we're going to stop the stigma, and this is how we're going to do it. Well, from my side, I'm not doing what you guys are doing, but I come alongside people and I say, I find the greatest way at my level to do it is get people open to telling their stories. And when we tell our stories, we get comfortable telling our stories, then the stigma stops. So you might hear me every once in a while joke about, stop the stigma, or, the reason that comes is because I'll be at a convention. I'll be saying, hey, guys, I struggle with PTSD. And someone yells out, it's not PTSD, Jason. So then I come hard Oakland fireman at him, right? And I'm like, it's trauma. Okay. Trauma sucks, you guys. And so that's where I come from. But I do it in a way that I don't want to be offensive to people that are out there trying to stop the stigma or talk about PTSD or PTSI or whatever they feel like calling it. But yes, John, for me personally, I like to just yank the names off of it. And trauma causes pain. Pain sucks.
I like that. And, if you don't mind, I'm going to share that wisdom along with our first responders that we encounter on our workshops, because I think that relates to them a little better. So thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. Use anything I have, man. It's all yours.
See, me and Sam are from New York, so we don't care about being offensive. I know you're from California.
Well, hold on, check this out. Just because I'm from California, I'm not of California, okay? So I make that very clear. And jokingly said, when people from the, quote, conservative states say, oh, California, this, that, I'm like, yo, settle down, guys. First off, you guys ruined my great conservative state by sending all your weird family members out here to San Francisco and LA, okay? So you destroyed my state. And then, so I love to joke and have fun with that type of stuff. And then to my Christian brothers out there, like, oh, you should come out here to, Kentucky, where you can be a Christian and, go for it. I said, well, if you guys ever want to stop being cowards and come be a Christian on the battleground of California, come on out and fight alongside of me. So, and it's all fun banter back and forth that I do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Another thing you brought up was that last story about the bridge jumper, right? Our first responders and our first responders, when they respond to a call, they don't know what they're going to. If it's going to be their last call, either mentally or physically or what. And that's what impacts a lot of people don't understand. We're not robots, And when you jump on that truck, that could be your last call. So your mental mindset, yes, it wants to be tactical in fighting the fire or doing something, but you still in the back of your mind have that feeling is this my last response?
Right.
That's heavy on a lot of first responders.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, we ended the last segment with Soul on Fire, and Jason, I've been on your Facebook, read a little bit about you, and faith is huge. When we come back, let's explore that a little bit more. Like, how did it start for you? Because that that was a pivotal moment when you're looking down and you're seeing yourself, and it came, when you say it came home with you.
Right.
I got chills right now because that is something we just here locally buried a very vivacious and popular first responder. Nobody knew that she was suffering. She hid it very, very well. And that friend, enemy, devil, whatever, the evil attached to her and followed her home. But let's expand on that when we come back from our next break. Stay tuned, everybody.
Look, when you need to respond to an aggressive situation to protect yourself, your family, or your property, understanding your firearm and legal position are critical. Officers know your skills are only as good as your commitment to training. So know what you're doing. So when you're in a vulnerable situation, we can count on your response. Whether you're a beginner or a licensed gun carrier, Carry in Texas offers basic firearms training, Texas permitless carry courses, license to carry, and basic 2A courses so you can understand the responsibilities, situational awareness, and learn the technical skill required when you carry your firearm. Go to carryintexas.com to find the right course for you. Join me, former United States Secret Service agent Samantha Horwitz, on the range for beginner basics, LTC prep, and range practice. Go to carryintexas.com today. That's carryintexas.com.
Hey, welcome back to A Badge of Honor with John and Sam and James, retired firefighter from. No, Jason. I know. It's comedy humor.
Gotcha. No.
Okay, yes, we have switched over. We are now a comedy-centered podcast where we test John to see if he can get our names right.
It's funny he brought up humor, because that's what I did to really. I became a comedian because it helped me. I don't know, release a lot of that stuff inside me, and I find a lot of healing in humor. It gets the soul to laugh, instead of that, what you were talking about, the fire within. So I'm going to let you elaborate on that and how you changed your faith from that faithful day.
Yeah. Sam, I know you were kind of talking about, my faith-based approach to it. And I just want to be clear to every listener out there. The stance that I take when finding help for people is, first off, I have to show up and be real, because first responders can smell fakeness, a mile away. And if I show up and pretend that, I'm not letting my faith guide what I do, then I'm fake. But I'm also very clear to people that I want to present you guys with like a ladder company. A ladder company, a truck company, is full of tools that has all different compartments that we can open up when we're confronted with a certain problem, pull those tools out and use them to better the situation. Well, the same thing with mental health and dealing with traumatic experiences in the fire department. If I was to come up to someone who I know for a fact does not share the faith I do, and I say the only thing that's going to work for you is to go to a faith-based Christian program, I'm doing more damage to that person than I'm doing good. But hear me out. The struggle that I've had is, over the years, I've been told if only thing that's going to work for me is a non-faith-based program, and it didn't work. So what I'm trying to do is provide these tools and saying, hey, if you're a Christian, we got this. If you're not a Christian, we got this. We've got this stuff out there. Let's open it up. And then I joke with people at the very end and I say, but my biggest concern is getting your head cleared out. I want you to find that peace and comfort you deserve. Now, while you're doing that, don't get me wrong, I'm gonna be praying for you. So I just hit that honest approach and stuff, because I think we have to do that when we're confronting something so hard with such a hard group of people to confront also.
Absolutely.
Do you think a lot of first responders are scared of faith? Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I hear the first responders scared of faith. I believe that, we've been conditioned in the workplace not to talk about certain things. So we get conditioned not to talk about it. I do believe that certain groups of society have been hurt by the church, so they don't want anything to do with it. And that was my group. I couldn't stand Christians. There's a scene in my book, or a chapter in my book, where I curse a pastor out of my firehouse, and so I just believe that, there is. But what I've learned too is it's perception that, like, I couldn't stand Christians, right? all because of what? Maybe 3 or 4 treated me bad, but the other millions didn't treat me bad. Well, it's kind of like that in society. Oh, I don't like this community because who are the meanest and the loudest people in the community are the most passionate, whether it's a Christian, whether it's from the LGBT community that I absolutely adore and love, or wherever. It's always the loudest, most obnoxious ones that seem to get the microphone, right? And so I think they're the ones that give us a perception. And I just try to break down that perception. And at first I say, if any of my folks claim to be a Christian hurt you, sorry, let me know and I'll go punch them in the throat for you. So that's kind of the stance that I take. So I just look at it. I have to answer that question from a view of where I come from. And I always believe that we make perceptions based on just a small little sampling of a community.
Yeah, well, you went exactly where I was going with that, with the question of, what happened in your background, and the moment that you realize the darkness followed you home, because you had the faith background, some bad, some good. Was that the point where you actively dove back in, or did you look for guidance?
No, so I grew up hating Christians because the only time you heard the name Jesus Christ in my house was when someone hit their shin on the coffee table. I want to be very clear. It wasn't said in a hallowed way. It was said in a very corruptive type of way. I was taught basically growing up. So I grew up in a very poor house. Like I didn't even get my first bed until I bought it myself with my fire department check. I slept on the floor in a 2-bedroom, nasty, filthy apartment. I had no friends at school. I didn't have the same clothes everyone had. I had no friends. And so at this point of the jumper scene, basically everything I created in my life was a middle finger to my growing up. It was a middle finger to my dad, a middle finger to the darkness, as in it was a middle finger to the teachers that treated me awful, that if I asked a teacher for help, they would scream at me to go home and ask for help. If I asked my dad for help, I'd take a punch to the face. So I was caught in the middle. And so now here I am, that darkness is now manifesting itself again. And even at that point, we came back in the same little time frame there. We came back from a double fatal fire. And you know what? This fire was so rough was the mom and the daughter, I know for a fact, were alive when we pulled up on scene. But because of the barred gates, the dogs, the multiple different things we had to do to get to that fire, they died before we could make the grab. And as we come back to the firehouse, there was a beautiful chaplain, just a wonderful man there. And he asked me how I was. And all I wanted was a handful of Tylenol and a cup of coffee and to go take a shower to wash the stench of this fire off me. And I let that kind pastor know how I was in our firehouse. I told him to get his fake Bible, his fake Jesus, his fake everything out of my firehouse. And I just lit into him and I was cursing. And my captain even like, yo, my nickname at that point became the demon seed. I was the demon seed of the Oakland.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's harsh.
Yeah, that's even in my book. And to this day, if you call the Oakland Fire Department and ask for the demon seed, they know exactly who you're talking about. So I was in a dark place and I wanted to find some hope and I couldn't find it. I could not find any hope. If I went on a date or had a relationship, the black hole inside of me would just eat it up and I'd destroy the relationship because of my past. If I bought a truck or a boat or a house, they would remain. But the happiness that they brought me would just be torn apart by the black hole inside of me, and things were getting worse and getting darker. And everything that people said, this world, and I'm talking from a Christian view now, looking back at it, everything this world said would make me feel better actually made me feel worse because it only gave me limited happiness and then it went away. So I was stuck with a recognition of I'm back to the darkness again. So during this time, I actually decided I was going to go to a church because I saw people coming out of a church down the street from my little house I lived in, and they had smiles on their faces and they looked like things were okay. So I wanted a piece of what they had. I wanted someone to hug me and basically tell me I was okay, but you don't ask a pack of firemen to do that for you, West Oakland Firehouse. So I put on my best pair of shorts, my best shirt. And, I'm a California surfer and I've been surfed Northern California and still do out there at Bodega Bay. And I showed up looking like a very clean surfer. And the 2 greeters at the front of that church told me I couldn't come into that church. They stopped me because of the way I was dressed. So here I am, an Oakland fireman. And I had it was close to making lieutenant at that time and stuff. And, I'm not trying to brag, but I have some awards for pulling people out of fires and doing some good stuff. And what these guys tell me, once again, they turn me back into the little kid I was that got thrown out of school because I wasn't good enough. And at that moment, I was seeking the church to go find help, and they turned me away. And at that moment, I was overcome by total peace because the darkness, and again, not want to go fully religious on you guys, but looking back on it with my Christian view, is the devil basically like, I have you. I don't need to spend any more time on you. And that's when I went home and I started penning my suicide note because I was just done. And I'm not saying I was in a peaceful place and I was happy about it, but it was like that done where I wasn't going to keep pushing through it's like being in a fire when you finally have to get out of the building because the fire's winning. And so you're not getting burnt. So you're in the street and you're at that done phase. It's a moment of like, okay, take a breather. I was at that moment where I was just going to take a breather. And the following morning, I was going to take my own life.
Yeah, it was like all the signs you had, and it was like, all right, well, I got everything I need, so this is it. John and I both have been there. We get it. So many people, and I hope those that need to hear that are listening right now. We've got to take our next break, and we will come back with Jason. And I planted the seed. Get a Post-it note or whatever you need, partner. Jason.
Yeah, just don't let Jim from New Jersey, invite me.
But we'll be right back. Stay tuned, everybody.
Leftovers again. It's time for something we haven't had in a long time. It's time for something right. It's time to make the right choice. OBBM Network TV is always the right choice. Choose right.
Hey, welcome back. Sam's already smiling. Welcome back to the Badge of Honor podcast with John, Sam, and Jason.
All right.
Before we left, Jason, you're talking about, we're talking about faith, and we're talking about you penning your suicide note. A lot of first responders have been there, but what got me was after that fire that you went to, did you have a chaplain in your firehouse?
No, we being Oakland, it does have the part of Oakland I worked in West Oakland was actually called Brooklyn back in the day. So long story short, 400,000 people packed into a tiny little neighborhood between the hills and the bay. So you have churches on all the parishes, if you will. Like you walk to church, you didn't take a car to church. So local pastors would know when a fire was in the neighborhood. They were our pseudo chaplains, and they would come to the firehouse and lovingly just check on us. I mean, seriously, they had a key to the firehouse. They make us coffee, they were just good guys. But the reason I was so mean to him was because he showed goodness, and anything good I knew would be taken away from me. And I just didn't want to deal with it at that moment.
No, I get that. And, I was just impressed that when you guys got back from that fatal fire, that there was someone there to say, how you doing? And I don't think we have that too much in our end on the East Coast or in the Midwest, where it's just go to the next job. They don't have that personal connection where if you need me, I'm here. Right. Just to lay a hand on your shoulder and say, I got you. And I thought I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, well, not to sell the chaplaincy, but what I like about chaplaincy on fire grounds or even on emergency scenes of any type that are major is it's the ministry of presence. Their presence. They're just there. They're just there. Yep. And they're there to show love to any community. I just want to be very clear to any community, regardless of what your beliefs are, where you come from. And it does make a difference. And believe it or not, that moment made a difference because to go back onto that story, after I cursed that guy out, I mean, my captain should have he could have written me up on that. But as walking away, my captain said, hey, Pastor, I'm sorry about Jason. He gave the whole thing. You love him on the fire ground, but he's going through some issues. And that pastor made sure I could hear it. And he kind of yelled it as I'm walking to the shower. And he goes, Captain, it was not my fault, meaning it was not Jason's fault. He's all,
he understood.
My fault. He was saying it. He was taking on the blame. The pastor's all, I should not have approached him like that. Bro, he didn't approach me wrong. But at that moment, I got a lump in my throat because he was one of the first people to ever show me grace. I did not deserve to be treated the way I was. I should have been reprimanded, but he took the fault. And I was like, wow, which just shows me how powerful that was. And even though at that moment, people would say, well, it didn't do any good for you. I'm sitting here on this podcast, and he's one of the reasons why, he was there. So, yeah.
On 9/11, we had Chaplain Michael Judge on the scene. And if you see him in some of the videos, because a lot of those firefighters thought, they knew that if they ascended those stairs, it was going to be the last time. And, you see him putting his hand on the shoulders of a lot of firefighters, just touching them. And, you know,
there's an intense video also, not to steal from you, because I'm so familiar and I've talked with so many guys, you know, Frank Lee, Joe Bonanno, all these guys that were part of that and stuff. And there's this one that I was watching that no one even talks about. He was standing off to the side in the lobby, silently praying over the scene. And it's just like, it crushed me. And also knowing the way that his life was taken. Oh man, it was just, you know, that it was a jumper that took him out, you know, it's just the whole thing. But he was there praying for the guys and they didn't even know it, you know, but he was there and they saw him there. And here he is in the middle of an emergency. Like you said, I'm watching from the West Coast 20 years ago at the firehouse. And I knew guys were going to die that day. Not that I'm prophetic or anything, but come on, that amount of jet fuel in a high rise. I didn't know what it was going to be that tragic, but you can't sit back and watch a scene as a fireman and not think that firemen are going to die that day, you know, and for him to be there. Yes, it was a huge thing, bro. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah. And it just so happens that we get to see his face and remember him every year at an event that we do called Carry the Load. They have a storyboard in his honor. So it is.
Just filed, so.
All right. John's fixing some tech stuff.
No worries.
So with that, you know, you write a lot. You're on, you have 3 books out. You're working on another one. Take us through, because it's really the Rescuer. I think it is. You got a lot of stories in there, and I think really as far as first responder reads, it definitely hits home. And then you've also got some devotionals out there as well.
Yeah, you know, more than anything, and I thank you so much for talking about those. But you know, for this podcast and people listening, The Rescuer. So it's The Rescuer, and it's my memoir. It's one firefighter's story of courage, darkness, and the love that saved him and stuff. So I kind of, you know, not trying to shut you down or anything, but stay there, because I just know that's the book that can, you know, kind of affect people, because that's the stories. Because I don't want to leave people, also especially with me penning my suicide note, I don't want to leave people just there, you know, and what happened next. And that's in the book. But the brief version was, I went home and I was done. I was going to leave. And my biggest concern as a first responder was, when I took my life, I didn't want to become a bad memory for another first responder who's going to show up and see me. So I made it very clear that you were not going to find me. It was going to be a surfing thing where I was going to be at least 4 miles out in the ocean when my life ended and stuff. And so I'm writing that note. And as I'm writing that note, my phone rang and I didn't want to answer it, but I finally did. And it's a buddy of mine who's a San Francisco fireman. And he said, I'm coming over for pancakes. I'm like, I'm not getting pancakes. I'm going surfing. So he jokes because he's a total fitness San Francisco guru guy. And he's all, dude, before you go surfing, we'll go get your fatty pancakes so you have all your stuff. Go. And I told him no. But he's that type of guy that when you say no, he's already at your front door. You know, he's not really 2 minutes out. We all have a friend like that. That was him. Yeah. And as I'm walking out into my garage, and I have cinder blocks in my garage, I have my gun out there. I just have everything ready to go, my wetsuit and all that. I mean, it looks pretty suspicious too, because I have a gun in a Ziploc baggie, cinder blocks, rope, a surfboard. I mean, this guy, I'm either a mass murderer, I'm a psycho killer, or something bad. Try to hide all that. Well, he walks up, and like all first responders do, whether you're a cop or a firefighter or anything in between, he saw in my eyes that I wasn't okay because he assessed me. And he said, we're going to go have pancakes. Now, looking back on the story, even at that moment, he didn't realize I was suicidal or anything, but he knew I was off and there was something majorly wrong with me. And believe it or not, 22 years after the fact, that's when 99% of the people who read my story didn't realize I was suicidal at that time, because you mentioned that someone just took their life back there, a young lady or a female took her life. And as firefighters and cops and responders, we're so good at hiding it. Even after the fact, even after I got healthy, I never told the people my story because I wasn't in a safe place to tell it in its entirety, that I could help people. And that's why I penned the whole book together, was for that reason. So by him taking me out to pancakes and doing that, after a church turned me away, but an atheist firefighter from San Francisco takes me out to pancakes, that was a turning point in my life that saved me. And I started to see visions of hope, and met a girl who's a Christian and then almost died in a fire. There's a couple other things there. And you know, I came to faith. And for me, it truly is my faith that ultimately saved me. There were all these people involved there were all these processes, including physicians and counselors, but ultimately it was my faith that gave me the healing that I needed to continue on. And I just wanted to throw that out there because I didn't want to leave it in a hard spot for the listeners wanting to know what's next that haven't read my book.
Yeah, no, sure. Understand that. And, you know, I think, I'll just say that God throws either people, a place, or a thing in front of you to stop you, because your story clearly was not done. You had a mission. You're still on that mission, and so he knew. You know, he always knows what he's doing.
Did you listen to my sermon from church yesterday?
Thank you, Pancake Firefighter Dude. Appreciate you.
Oh, he'll be listening, and he'll tell me.
Pancake Firefighter.
Every time he hears the story, he asks me for $5.
Yeah, we'll just make that a hashtag. Thank you, Pancake Firefighter. But we got to take our next quick break, and we will come back to talk more about the book and what you're doing now. Stay tuned, everybody.
Rise and vibe with your new elevated morning ritual. Meet Rise by Frequency. Frequency charged nutrition. Rise is formulated with a blend of 7 different organic mushrooms, B vitamins, amino acids, and green coffee bean extract. Rise supports brain health, performance, and focus while enhancing mood, mental clarity, and energy. Enjoy the delicious mango lemonade flavor while giving your mind the nutrients it needs. Get charged up with Rise. Fuel your body and mind today.
All right, so you're going to rise and vibe with me and John. Rise is that thing called nootropics. Nootropics have been around for a while, but just in case you don't know about it, nootropics are believed to support healthy cognitive function, mental clarity, and overall brain health, and that's exactly what Rise does. Take it every day, along with Source, which is minerals that a healthy body needs. No sugar. Totally keto friendly, and comes in a nice tub with some scoopers or even travel packs, so you can take it wherever you're going. It supports your mental performance, brain health, energy, mental clarity, creativity, motivation, concentration, alertness, and mood. I use Rise and Source every day as my pre-workout. Not only does it give me the extra energy boost, but it gets me focused. I am on task, do my workout. I can do, actually, I've noticed more sets, heavier weights, getting stronger. And that's pretty cool because I'm not getting any younger. So getting stronger there. And it is delicious, just like it says in the commercial. Here in Texas, it's still summer. Maybe tomorrow it'll change. We're at thunderstorms right now, maybe a tornado, hopefully not, just saying. That's what we're dealing with right now. But, you know, you can rise and vibe with us. Simply visit abadgeofhonorhealth.com. And right now we have got a special that we put together. When you subscribe and save, whether it's Rise by itself or Rise and Source, you can go ahead and put that together and save some of your money, because we know that is valuable for you. So abadgeofhonorhealth.com. That's abadgeofhonorhealth.com. Rise and vibe with me and John. Now back to the show.
Hey, sorry, I'm actually on my phone right now typing that in and stuff with everything you said right there. I'm sold on that right now. So I'm getting my...
Well, welcome back, Jason. You know,
thank you, John.
Jason, when we ended the last segment, you talked about the Pancake Firefighter Dude. And we all have that one story or that one, here's where you got to really believe in faith, because every, suicide attempt that has failed, or I don't want to say failed, but was not completed, has a story basically like yourselves, like even Sam, your dog jumped in your lap and it brought something out of you. I passed out for some reason, for whatever it was. So as first responders, we have to recognize those signs, those little things from above. It's got to be faith saying, it's got to be God's hand or some sort of hand going, not your time. Mm-hmm. Your phone rang. And then you think about if you didn't answer that phone, make that conscious effort to answer that phone, you wouldn't be healing so many other people out there. You wouldn't be here sharing your story to help others. Same with Sam, same with so many others. And we need to reflect on that, because when you talk about faith, that's really what it's all about, man. It's that one specific sign that we cannot lose sight of.
Yeah, it's, and that's what I tell people is, first off, I never want to put guilt on people. I never want someone listening to say, oh, I should have taken that person out to pancakes, because Chris didn't know he should have taken pancakes. Not like he showed up at my house because he had saw signs leading up to this. It was that quote miraculous intervention. But I'm a stickler in a very loving way that I do now put it on first responders, because I believe they need to hear this too, that we got to put it on ourselves to reach out to the help that we feel comfortable reaching out to. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I would never reach out to any brochure hanging on my wall in the Oakland Firehouse, because the Oakland Fire Department, I had to go through a bunch of psychological tests to get the job. I was scared I'd lose my job, just like the guys going through chemical issues. I praise God that I don't have struggled with drugs or alcohol, and that wasn't my thing. But obviously I struggled with my own issues that were, very bad too. But like, guys would never reach out for that help because you'd be put on a last chance clause. Well, okay, you're suffering with a medical condition of dealing with drugs and alcohol, and you only get one last chance to lose your job. I'm going to keep that hidden. So I love that there's places like what you guys are doing and other places that we can have brothers and sisters come alongside people and be a safe place to give them help. And when I talk safety, it's not that silly counselor safety talk. It's I'm a fireman that's been there right beside you, tough guy too, or tough girl. And I understand it. Hey, let's together hit the road and see what we can find to get you the help you truly need. And I know fire chiefs and police chiefs sometimes cringe when I say that, but guess what? I really don't care anymore, because what I care about is finding these folks the help they need. And what I've learned is these little cards that I had to hand out, like in my lieutenant's exam. Oh, so you're struggling? I've noticed there's a personality change. Here's our employee assistance program. They're going to offer you 2 free things, and then they're going to charge you $50,000 to send you off to this place. And I'm sorry, I know I'm being rough.
It's 100% true. You are preaching the truth.
Right.
Yeah, so from New York to California, EAP programs suck.
Right. And so I'll throw this out there, that when I was writing my book, I'm not a writer, you guys. Like I said, I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. I don't know the difference between a verb or a noun. When people were all going crazy about pronouns, didn't bother me because I don't even know what a pronoun is. So, so I'm writing this book and I'm ready to be done. And my beautiful wife, she is the reason I came to Christ, because she's a Christian who just came into my life at the right moment, also, and helped find me the help that I need. I was ready to not write this book and throw it away. And then I got a phone call from an FDNY guy who I didn't know, but the phone calls I take are from cops and firefighters. The rest I can't, because I get over 200 emails and messages daily from people I've never met. But I took this one, and he told me he was going on duty the next morning, but he actually wasn't going to go, and he was going to take his life. And wow, I said, how'd you get a hold of me? He's like, oh, I saw your Facebook page. You're that Christian fireman. He's all like, I don't like Christians. I want to talk. I'm like, bro, you called the right guy. Okay, because I used to be you. Let's go. And so I could use that rough guy. Well, the dude's now still my friend, and that happened 4 years ago. And it made me write my book. And the last thing I'll throw out is, when my book hit the market, everyone started asking me about PTSD. And I started, excuse my language, getting pissed. I'm like, Christy, why is everyone asking me about PTSD? Mind you, dumb Oakland fireman, high school dropout with a GED. And she looks at me, she's like, honey, you did put your suicide story in there, because I wrote it thinking, I want people to come to Jesus, and that's my thing. But check this out from my faith. He said, look how God's been using this. He's been using people to give them another day, giving them to go find the same help that I got. And prayerfully, I can, pour a little faith into them while that's happening.
Very nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I've had the website up as we were talking, so you can grab Jason's book by visiting the website rescuerbook.com. For those of you listening on your favorite podcast app, again, it's rescuerbook.com. Grab it, read it. Jason, how can people connect with you? Do you have a separate website or social media? What's the best way?
Well, the coolest way I always tell people is rescuerbook.com. I put my email address in that, and people told me not to do it, especially with the amount of volume this is sold. but I don't want them to walk away and not be able to actually talk to the real person in that book.
Sure.
So in my book, on the back cover, I actually have my email address on there that they can hit me up. And then there's jasonsautel.com they can hit me up on. And then all the social medias, just look through, you'll find me that I'm there. But jasonsautel.com, but rescuerbook.com. If you read the book, you'll see my email address in there, and hit me up. And I'd love to, respond to you if you're having an issue or just need a word of encouragement.
And you're also, so you're on Facebook, and I think you're on, are you Jason at Jason Sautel on Instagram as well?
Yeah, I don't know how. I'm still learning Instagram. I tell you what, those things are rough. Long story short, I was on Facebook the other day, and my wife comes and she's like, honey, you have 749,000 people following you right now. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. Okay. I am so dumb because I put stuff on social media, then I step away because social media is crazy and stuff. But yes, I am there. And the one page that's like the big page, it's Jesus is all we need, because that's my devotional side there. And anything I do in life, I'm gonna be honest with you, circles back around to I truly believe Jesus is all we need. So there is a Facebook page called Jesus is All We Need by Jason Sautel, and also my name at Jason Sautel and all that other stuff.
Cool. Well, we can't thank you enough for coming on and spending this time with us. Thank you for being so open and really vulnerable with your story. Again, go out, get the book, rescuerbook.com, so you can really understand more about Jason and the story, and connect with him after that. Jason, you've got a phenomenal message. We thank you so much. Thank you for what you do for preaching the good word, and frankly, for saving the lives of first responders that
Yes.
reached out, because it takes, all of us, and you're there, and we can't thank you enough.
No, thank you for having me on. Last thing I'm just going to
Appreciate
throw out there is it's not my story, it's our story. So when you're reading it, I wrote it in a way that you're going to see yourself in it, and it's our story, So yeah, thanks for having me on and throwing that out there for everyone to
And
hear.
and you have a podcast, right?
Yeah, there's a podcast, Walking Through the Fire podcast, which I just branched away from all my media partners and all that. I'm now doing my own thing because I just kind of wanted control over it. So it's called Walking Through the Fire podcast, and it's got a few episodes, but it exploded out. I mean, the last one's exploded, but this one even took off even more. So it's been totally cool to see how people are responding to it.
Well, we will add that to the replay notes for sure. So Walking Through the Fire podcast. Awesome. Jason, thank you so much.
Jason, thank you. Hey, say hello to James. Say hello to James for me.
Oh, I will. You too, Jim. Make sure you say Jim out there in New Jersey hello for me. So
there you go. These guys, have a good night.
Take care.
You can't take the comedy. I love it. Look, when you're talking this heavy of a topic, it's always great to get the comedy. So I appreciate you guys. Like John talked about before, this Friday, we have a workshop, and you can still sign up. If you're a first responder, if you are within a 2-hour drive of the greater DFW area, badgeofhonor.org. It's right on the homepage. You can sign up right there. We got breakfast and lunch taking care of you. Also, for our law enforcement who attend, we got T-hole credits. So again, there are spaces left at badgeofhonor.org for that. It is day number 4 of 11 days of supporting our veterans with our partners at Heroes on the Water. And you can go to heroesonthewater.org to find out how you can support our veterans. Starting on Veterans Day, November 11th, and going through December 11th, you can join me, you can join us through Carry the Loads 100,000 meter challenge. No, I am not running 100,000 meters. It is a virtual group event for everybody who registers. And there are different, you can run, you can rock, you can row, you can bike, and you can find out more at 100kmc.com. Look up me, Samantha Horwitz. That's how I registered. You can join my team if you want to do it together. So it starts November 11th and goes through December 11th. So you don't need an excuse to get in shape. That's for sure. We talked a lot about faith tonight, and like I say every week, to all of our first responders out there, you have got prayer warriors coast to coast praying for you every single day. Thank you for what you do, keeping our community safe. To all of the veterans out there, John, you just got back from an amazing cruise with a lot of them, and that beautiful painting that you shared. To all of our veterans, thank you for what you did, for fighting the good fight so that John and I can do a show like this every single week. And hopefully after tomorrow, we'll keep on being able to do a show like this every single week. And so thank you. And to our active duty personnel, and more I'm hearing from friends of friends, their loved ones have been activated, going over to the Middle East and other areas of the globe. Thank you for keeping us safe here, protecting our shores. We are praying for you as well. John, take us home.
I'm going to end it with Jason or Jimmy or James, whatever his name is, with, listen, until next week, keep the faith. Peace.
Take care, everybody. See you next week.
A Badge of Honor podcast is produced for the OBBN Network podcast and protected under copyright law. For content permissions, please submit your request to abadgeofhonor.com on the content page. For OBBN Network programming information, please call 214-714-0495 today.